And the story you're about to hear belongs to a 17-year-old boy who used to go to the Granite Falls, Minnesota high school. The boy and his camera crew buddies from the Granite Falls Video Club went to a fazbear entertainment restaurant to film a documentary about the murders there, and specifically the death of one of the owner's daughters. But later the next day, all 7 of them were found deceased. And Fazbear Entertainment quickly distracted everyone from the situation. They lied to everyone and said that they all ran away from home, when it was clearly a lie. This took place in October of 2001. And one of the students had a notebook which wrote everything down and everything that happened on their gruesome night that they died. The note doesn't belong to the police, but it belongs to Fazbear Entertainment. They don't want to lose money. And they don't want people finding out their secrets. This is the story of a 17-year-old kid who used to be on the high school video club who went to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza for a film documentary. Here is that story. The school's video club. I'm a part of it along with a couple buddies of mine. My buddies' names are Benny, Miles, Asher, Isla, and Ruth. They're all my best friends since 2nd grade. And here we are, seniors of the video club in the high school. It's just us and us alone. We make documentaries, videos, and typical stuff. We joke around like typical teenagers do, and that's what it's been like. But we never thought that one of our documentary attempts would end in a disaster. It was 6th hour by the time this story started. It was video club. Me and the others were just sitting in that room coming up with video ideas. In the upcoming days was a talent show. And for our talent was going to be a documentary. But we didn't know what documentary was going to be. We were all thinking and suggesting ideas, but we didn't really like our suggestions. But then all of a sudden, the door opened and shut. We all turned our heads, and it was Miles, one of our buddies. He had looked like he just ran a marathon around the entire school, and he was out of breath, covered, his face completely red, and he was breathing heavily, and I could see a couple of drops of sweat. It was clear that he ran. Eventually, a couple minutes after we managed to calm him down with a cold ice bucket of water. Well, not really an ice bucket, but we just gave him a water bottle from the cooler. He eventually sat us down on the video club couch, and he sat in a chair in front of us, and he eventually told his idea. These were his exact words. I'd just spoken with the teacher about suggestion ideas, and he gave me one. He pulled out a piece of paper out of his pocket, and Miles opened it up and put it on the table. We all looked down at the piece of paper, and this is what it wrote. You all should go to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, 131 Maple Street. There was a little girl who was brutally murdered there. It was a tragedy, and the little girl happened to be the owner's daughter of the restaurant. You all should go there and get some cool footage and talk about the stories. Miles took the paper and looked at us. So throughout the rest of that class time, we were wondering if we were really going to go to an abandoned restaurant that used to sell pizza. And last time I heard that they used to have creepy animatronics. But eventually, Miles ended up convincing us, saying that it would be a cool thing to go to. So we all decided to agree. And we will all go there that Friday night. So, on that Friday morning, or that entire school day, we grabbed our camera equipment, our mic, our lights, and everything else. We weren't going to, talk to anyone that used to be related to the restaurant. So after school, we all met up in the Granite Falls Park. We got all of our equipment, all the cameras, all the lighting, all the mics, and all the microphones, and everything else. And we put our stuff in the van as the sun began to set. This was around 8:20 p.m. on a Friday on October 20, 2001, and officially we were on our way. It took us maybe 3 miles to get there. It was now 9 o'clock and the sun had just set. We unfortunately had to stop outside the pizzeria and hide our van when the outside of the restaurant read, no, not the outside, but the little road that turned into the parking lot read, trespassing, to go back. We looked around the parking lot. There didn't seem to be a car there. There didn't seem to be anyone there that could potentially try to hunt us down and kick us out. There was a security guard. There was nothing. There would have been another sign saying security guard on duty, stay back, but there wasn't. So we all hit the van, walked over the caution sign, walked down the parking lot into the driving lot, and we all had our equipment in our bags and hands, and we all looked up at the giant building. The building was huge. The sign had a bear, a bunny, and a chicken, and the chicken was holding a bright pink cupcake. The bunny and bear had bright red cheeks, and the chicken had bright pink cheeks. There were 4 spikes that had stars on it, and there were also stars next to the entrance. The door frame had 2 doors, and on the door were stars as well. And above the door was a small window with all the animatronics. We all read the animatronics as we got there. There were supposedly a couple. There was a bear, a rabbit, a chicken, a white and pink fox, a little boy animatronic that used to give little kids balloons, and there was supposedly a marionette that would direct the animatronics during performances. That's what we read on the history about this place. We all stared at the building for a couple minutes, admiring it. The place looked 19 years old. I mean, that's what it said in the newspaper. This place has been closed ever since 1983. This restaurant opened in 1978, all the way to 1983. And we all knew why. The owner's daughter was killed right outside the entrance. It was a sad tragedy. Ruth broke the silence as the crickets chirped and the leaves moved in the wind. Some were falling because it was fall in October. You guys ready to go inside? I nodded. I just hope there's no security guard in there. Benny helped me out. Relax, man. We could have, if there was a security guard here, we would have easily saw a car or a sign saying that there was a security guard here. Relax, man. I nodded, but there still could have been a high chance that there was a guard. Asher just watched the building in fear. I know that he was scared of lots of things because we've been to abandoned and old places before, but this is the actually most scariest that I've seen before. And Isla, she just held the microphone with excitement. She loved the rumors about this place. She was into ghosts and stuff. That's one of the main reasons she joined the video club. So after we all talked for a little bit, we all walked to the entrance. The doors were unlocked, and I opened it. Some of us held cameras, some of us held flashlights, and some just held lighting, along with some microphones. The lights in the pizzeria were off, but there was some lighting. Like there were light bulbs right underneath the archway. There was a toy Freddy face on the floor, and we walked through the archway into the dining room. We all noticed something really, really cool. There was like a little water ride. It seemed to go on deeper into the pizzeria, but we weren't about to go down there because, I don't know, the water must have been like 20 years old. Benny held the camera, not for videographing the film we were about to make, but for documentaries to show people later. He recorded this Balloon Boy statue, not the actual animatronic, and he kept doing that. So we walked through the pizzeria, we walked over a bridge that was underneath the water ride, we walked through the dining room, walked through this ball pit that was supposedly called Kids Cove. We walked through the dining room. The empty party hats and chairs and tables were still there. The place was disgusting. The walls were rotted and some of the things had broken off. This place had obviously been broken for 20 years. Some of the posters were knocked down and some were shattered with glass. Some posters showed the animatronics, the marionette, the toy animatronics, including Balloon Boy, the name of the little boy animatronic that gave kids balloons. That's when we got to the main show stage. And there they were. Benny hopped on and moved the curtain to the side. We all shined our flashlights and cameras on them. There they were. The supposedly Toy Freddy, Toy Bonnie, and Toy Chica, along with her little toy Mr. Cupcake. They all had these little tarp around them, which we all presumed to stop from dust getting on them. And we gotta admit, they actually were kind of looking cool. It was obvious that nothing had moved these in years. They were probably left like that when the pizzeria closed down. And along the way, Isla told more about the backstory about this place. Supposedly, there was another location called Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place. There was another set of animatronics, and this place opened a couple years after this pizzeria closed down in 1987. The pizzeria that we're in currently closed down in 1983, and the other pizzeria opened in 1987, about 4 or 5 years after. And then in 1993, there was another child's missing incident where the pizzeria that we're in currently closed down in 1983, and the other pizzeria opened in 1987, about 4 or 5 years after. And then in 1993, there was another child's missing incident where 5 children got missing. It was obvious that the company who owned these restaurants obviously had a lot of bad times, with a bunch of children going missing and a bunch of bankruptcies, along with their restaurants being closed down forever. And some of us had the same thought on our questions. How come they haven't demolished those places down? We heard that this was the original pizzeria. Then there was another one called Fredbear's, which was supposedly the very first one that opened in the early 70s. And then there was the pizza place that was supposedly somewhere in town, but we were here, the original Freddy's location. We continued walking through the pizzeria, but we did not want to go through the water ride. Obviously, since the boats were broken, and we knew the water was probably so disgusting that it could probably kill us if we got in there. And after we were done exploring, there was only one room to visit: the security office. And we immediately found that in an instant, since it was kind of close to the main dining room. We walked down this long hallway, and sure enough, there was a monitor, a couple posters in the room. One poster showed the whole layout of the pizzeria, and there was a desk along with a camera monitor. And we kind of messed with the camera monitors, and the cameras were still working. It looks like a security guard was once here, but maybe he left early? We all shrugged. So after a while, we then set up our cameras in front of the dining room, which was overlooking the show stage behind us. The stage was curtained and all the animatronics were there. And as we were setting up, we actually saw an animatronic we never saw before. It's supposedly Toy Foxy, and we examined her for a while, and we went back to our little setup. We went to examine her because we just never saw her yet. We set up the camera, and we got everything ready, the microphones, the lighting, and everything else, and me, being the supposedly director, I yelled action. And Miles, the one that started it all, pretended like he was in a documentary, sat down, and looked straight into the camera, and then began to explain the story. We all recorded everything. The whole documentary, it lasted an hour, as one of us kept taking turns explaining the story of Fazbear Entertainment and all of its loss and tragedies. It lasted about a whole hour. That after everything else, I checked the time and it was 10:21 p.m. So that was about it. We finished our little documentary and that was it. we were gonna head home, right? That's what I thought. When we were packing up, I happened to glance over by the show stage, and something was obviously wrong. The animatronics were gone. All 4 of them. Toy Freddy, Toy Bonnie, Toy Chica, and including Toy Foxy. I immediately turned to everyone else and I told them, look. They all looked where I was looking and they were shocked as I was. Where the hell did the animatronics just go? It's been like 20 years since this place closed down. Shouldn't they have like their cords pulled out? Like they should be not working? Well, we all were just sitting there in silence like, what do we do? We're obviously going to head home, but we were just confused. As we were just sitting there, we began to hear something. We didn't know what it was yet. But as we continued listening to the music, it felt like it was getting closer and closer. And we felt like it was something watching us. And all of a sudden, that sound scared the crap out of us. We all looked to see where the sound came from, and we realized it came from a secret trap door on the stage. And out came the marionette. The purple tears, the red cheeks, and the open black mouth popped out of the hole. We were all terrified, including me. Then something happened that I can't really explain. That's when everything went chaos. A lot of things happened. Toy Foxy, who was originally normal, had a full-on body, legs, arms. Toy Foxy appeared out of nowhere with actually no limbs this time. She was just a full garg of endoskeletons. She was up in the sky or something. She was up in the ceiling. She, came down and, grabbed Miles' throat and pulled him up into the ceiling as he screamed. We all screamed, too, and tried our best to run away. Toy Bonnie appeared out of nowhere, grabbed Asher, and, Toy Bonnie grabbed his guitar and impaled Asher with the guitar. Blood went everywhere. Benny tried to run, but Toy Chica just stopped him. Her beak came off, which showed a bunch of razor teeth, and Toy Chica immediately went down right on Asher. Isla immediately accidentally fell into the water ride, and she tried her best to come back up the water, but we all heard something. There was some spinning Balloon Boy hat in the water. We realized that it was Balloon Boy. The hat was coming closer to Isla, and something pulled her under. It was silent after a while, then blood came back up, and her body too. She had been drowned. So now it was just me and Ruth. Me and Ruth immediately ran to the security office, leaving our friends' dead bodies. Benny had been killed by Toy Bonnie. Miles had been killed by that Toy Foxy thing. Asher was killed by Toy Chica. And Isla was killed by that Balloon Boy. It was just me and Ruth now. We all tried to hide underneath the security desk, but it was no use. We heard the music box getting more closer to where we were, and something, grabbed the desk and threw it across the room. It was the puppet. It grabbed Ruth, and I can't even explain what happened. All I know is that Ruth was now fallen right next to me with her neck open, and the puppet was staring down at me. I was the only one left. I screamed, ran out of the office, made it back into the dining room, tripping over my friends' bodies, and as I was about to run towards the entrance, I looked back as I was sprinting, and I looked forward. Bang! I ran right first into something hard and metal. I immediately broke my nose and fell to the ground in pain. I hold my nose, and as I look up, it was Toy Freddy. Toy Freddy stared at me with those orange, then red eyes. He took a couple steps toward me, stomped on my leg, which caused my ankle to immediately break. I screamed in pain as I tried to back up, but it was no use. I immediately felt my neck being grabbed and my head getting close to Freddy's jaw. The last thing my eye saw was the inside of Toy Freddy's jaw as I saw the mouth clam shut. I fell motionless. I fell to the ground with no frontal lobe. Toy Freddy stood over me with those red eyes. The toy animatronics gathered around our dead bodies and dragged all of us to a backstage area. Benny had been killed by Toy Bonnie. Miles had been killed by Toy Foxy. Asher had been killed by Toy Chica. Isla had been killed by Balloon Boy. Ruth had been killed by the puppet. And me, Wyatt, was killed by Toy Freddy. All 7 of us were killed that night, just trying to make a stupid video that would never be released. Our bodies are still in the back room, so if anyone finds this note, I am dead, including with my buddies. Their names are Benny, Miles, Asher, Isla, Ruth, and me, Wyatt. Please, someone find us. You were killed just trying to make a video by those animatronic robots with those robot hands. My friends and I were killed by animatronic robot animals. I don't know what to say. I'm still here. 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 I'm still here.